exactly.
And there's no guarantee.
Yeah,
So
there is none.
we have a very clear success story. But for me, that is no guarantee for what's coming in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Welcome to the Future for Nature podcast. Every year, 3 exceptional young conservationists, all under the age of 35, coming from some of the most wild and remote places on Earth, are selected out of hundreds of applicants to receive the Future for Nature award, which comes with a €50,000 prize to go towards protecting and conserving the natural world. Over time, as they've grown in number into a Future for Nature family, these young conservationists have drawn on the many lessons learned from their vastly different backgrounds, countries, cultures, and the species they protect, to offer support and learn from one another. In this podcast, you'll hear them discuss some of the issues closest to their hearts and share in-depth knowledge from the field. Today we'll be hearing from Tjalle, Pieter and Ofir about what it takes to bring species back from the very brink of extinction.
Well, guys, I'm Tjalle Boorsma, Conservation Program Director for Asociación Armonía. We work on the conservation of Bolivia's most threatened birds throughout the entire country. In 2020, I won the award for working with blue-throated macaws, but I actually do much more than just working with the macaws.
Super. I'm Pieter van Wyk. I come from South Africa. I work in the Riversveld, also known as the Garib Desert. And I'm a botanist, so specializing on plants, a proper plant geek. But in the area, I work on conserving the ecosystems of the area.
Okay, I'm Ofir Drori, as you know, and I work on wildlife law enforcement. My organization is called Eagle. We work in 8 African countries, and we do undercover investigations, actual arrest operations, representation in court of those cases, up the prisons, where we fight corruption to get the law.
Well, let's talk about the endangered species. All of us work with critically endangered species. Can you tell the people listening what are the main factors contributing to the decline of the species you are working with?
So in my case, it's a land reformment and westernization, because people losing culture and traditional ways, which allowed them for thousands of years to coexist with species. But now the whole land reformment, the whole cultural change, it's just messing up the environment.
So we work on so many different species, right? Yeah. It's all that is illegally traded: chimps, gorillas, to lions, to leopards, to pangolins, to a lot of different endangered birds.
Yeah.
And for us, the first obstacle is corruption, and the second one is corruption, and the third one is corruption as well. So by far, corruption is what messes things up. Anything to do with wildlife law enforcement. So that's what we're focusing on.
Yeah. No, I see the same thing. Like, we're working with a whole wide range of different species. Currently, the main threat for most of those species is the conversion of natural habitat to artificial systems. Mm-hmm. So a lot of land reform of natural forest, or even savanna ecosystems to agricultural systems, soya, rice, which are currently the main threats. In the past, for example, if we talk about the macaws, it was a lot about trapping and illegal trade. I feel like that is somewhat under control. There's still some local trade taking place for several different species, but that strong and continuous habitat destruction is now the issue. And there's a lot of corruption involved there as well. Like, policies really focusing on development and not so much on sustainable development. Yeah, making sure there's a harmony between production and species conservation.
Yeah. There's always money illegally to be made for anybody who makes those decisions for others.
And I think, like you're saying as well, every single different species has its different issues, right? And it's kind of hard to give one single answer to that, because every area and every cultural situation is different.
But for our many species, the issue is not humans.
Yeah,
So we move to the next question. Oh, this one is specifically for you, Peter.
This is about plants.
Peter, you work with plants. Yes, you got that right. How do you think conservation for plants is different from protecting animals?
Also, the biggest challenge, especially in the case of poaching. So there's different challenges with plants, but in the case of poaching, it's more easy to advocate for an animal because there are traits in animals that we as humans can associate. So that comes to that comes down to when you go to court. So in court, they would less be likely to fight for or against poaching of plants than animals, because people understand and relate with other mammals much better because we are mammals. So yeah, so that's the main challenge.
Yeah.
yeah. How charismatic is a cactus? That's the question.
That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
But Ofir, do you experience in all of your work with trade and illegal trade, you are seeing plants come through in illegal trade?
We
Yeah,
don't work on that, but we have, we coming from the jungles of Central Africa, an illegal timber trade
Yeah.
is a huge thing. There's far more money
Yes.
illegally to be made. The corruption levels are staggering. These are contracts to different companies. That's one thing that is like serious kind of like problem. But also anybody that is like local operators.
Yeah.
So we tried to do what we do with the illegal wildlife trade with illegal logging. And we managed to get some managers into jail to prove our point that it's possible. So we have done that.
Super.
Cool. Yep. Pieter and Ofir, you also include the law in protecting species. Do you believe that the laws are protecting enough for your species?
Cool. I will let you go.
Yeah, let me start. I would say that we, in almost all of Africa, we have very sufficient laws.
What?
Like being 3 years in jail or 10 years in jail is like, jumping from the 6th floor and the 9th floor. In any case, this is bad for you if you're a big person. Spending 2 days in a Cameroonian jail will be very hard experience for you. Let alone a few good months, a few good years. So I would say the laws can always be better, but they are sufficient in almost all the countries.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem we have is not the laws, is the application of laws, because most of these countries have never ever applied the laws, complete zero of applications. So by far, application of law is far more important than having the laws because they are there.
Yeah.
And in my case, in South Africa, in the province, Northern Cape province, South Africa, where I worked, the first time a law was brought in for plants was in 2009. But from 2009 until 2019, it was never applied. And then this whole pandemic of succulent poaching started for Eastern countries. And I had to go into court and teach the judges how to apply this law from 2009.
Yeah.
But what I do find in my area that is a problem, so the law protects species against poachers, but the law doesn't protect the species against minors. So for the same species that people would go to jail for taking them out for trading with them, the minors don't go to jail for bulldozing them.
Oh, wow.
So it's a bit of a mess up, but then corruption again.
Yeah,
That's it.
different.
I think the same in Bolivia. The laws are amazing. And we just had a very interesting example. We are suffering with severe burning in Bolivia. So they're wanting to change the law about being able to set fire to your land or use fire in your management. And especially the cattle ranchers that work in natural grasslands were very against the new law because it came with a lot of big fines. It's all very popular. But we got to the point to sit down with the ranchers and actually look at all the details of the law. And everybody was saying, like, this makes sense. All of this makes sense. But there's no governmental body that is actually enforcing it in a proper way, that it's also beneficial for them. And I think that is the case.
Oh.
Just layers of corruption that make sure that all these good laws are not being worldwide problem.
Yeah.
And another thing is with us, with when it comes to mineral wealth and natural resources and stuff like that, that's being exploited for whatever reason. The laws is written in such way that even though the laws would protect protected species, they would allow protected species to be destroyed if there's offset in another place, and that doesn't have to include that species. So there's a little bit of a flaw.
Great. Let's move to the next question. Can you share a success story where a critically endangered species has shown a sign of recovery based on conservation actions?
I've where science have contributed. I've got my case where a species had the least concern conservation status because it was three species that was wrongly put into one name, and one of them was critically endangered and at the brink of being mined to extinction. So we had to rapidly intervene by sorting the taxonomy, and on sorting the taxonomy, we could split it into the proper three species it is, and then assign individually their own conservation status, and it rescued the species last year, or else it would have been wiped out.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, I have a less optimistic lookout, as my work takes me only to the criminals of the world all the time. And you look at the forces of corruption, and you look at the forces of the money to be made by killing wildlife, endangered wildlife. And yeah, it's bleak. So, we keep on fighting because that's really what you have to do. But we really want to show the way for others to join, because these forces keep on growing on their own, and you keep on trying to hold them back. It's a constant fight. It's not something that you're saying, "Oh, I won."
Exactly.
You just, unfortunately for my work, that everything I do, you can touch. Every week you put somebody in prison, that ring is having takes out maybe 5 leopards in a week, or 300 elephants in a month out, and that you took that down. So you kind of feel what you managed to stop in terms of the outtake of wildlife from out there. But greed is always there, so that's the force that keeps on going and you keeps on fighting.
And there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
So
there is none.
We have a very clear success story, but for me, that is no guarantee for what's coming in the future. So if we talk about the blue-throated macaw as a case study, it was thought to be extinct in 1992. It was rediscovered, and a lot of conservation actions have been put in place to recover the species. We conducted a population census in 2015. We estimate the population to be around 350 and 450 individuals. I feel very confident to say that the population now is around 600 individuals. Based on our local monitoring and the reserves, we see numbers go up. It is a great success story. People want to hear that. The donors want to hear that. But for me, that is no guarantee. I know what's coming. I know the new laws that have been pushed
Tidal
through.
wave.
The tidal wave of climate change, the constant idea of having to develop and gain more, all the things you're talking about, like the bleak future, that's there. And I don't think we should be completely blind on the little successes that we have and say hey, we're done now. Let's move on. It's not like that.
It just shows you that it's a constant fight. It's a life's mission, and you have to continue, because there's no place where you're just oh, that's great, let me just retire, everything is fine here.
But also the problem is with laws. What if a war breaks out and the laws of the government is destroyed? And so there will always then be that bleak, very bleak future.
You have to be on guard all the time, right? It's
Yeah. I have a next questions with which I desperately want to reply first. Please allow me.
Please go for it.
True or false? Captive breeding programs are vital for increasing the population of critically endangered species. They have a very strong opinion there.
Depending on what organisms.
Okay. captive breeding release programs or captive breeding programs, it's a conservation strategy and it could be useful. But there's a risk of organizations wanting to use that strategy in their own agenda, making lots of money. It's very attractive to breed animals and release them into the wild, especially when those species are highly involved into trade and captivity. The idea of releasing, let's say, a macaw for a lot of people is like, wow, now I am saving nature, and people want to pay for that. There's a lot of money for those captive breeding programs. For me, talking about the blue-throated macaw, it's now on the list as a new threat for the species because we have an increasing population, so conservation actions are working. Why would you threaten all that success by a captive breeding release program when you don't know the genetics of the captive individuals nor the wild individuals and a high risk of introducing exotic diseases? Why jeopardize decades of conservation work that is working with a very emotionally driven and money-driven strategy like this as a captive breeding release program? Okay, I got that out of my system.
Okay, I'm angrier than you on that one, because I would say greed, big money. Many of them are basically traffickers who are having their own breeding programs. There's two realities. You know what? And when we were seizing these macaws in Togo, do you know that I got so many different of these kind of programs? Conservationists, so-called conservationists, trying to pull and push so that they'll get them to their place. It's like it's a commodity for them. It's like it's money to be made. So I would say one, greed is a big threat for those species, and we need to just keep any greed and money-making machines out. That's number one. Secondly, as I was talking about traffickers are using that because there are many breeding programs of birds which are basically laundering, illegal trade. Because the realities of it is that for breeders who make money out of, especially parrots, African gray parrots is a good example. So capturing it in the wild is by far cheaper than making the whole cycle. So guess what? If your bottom line profit is better by just doing something a little bit illegal, it usually happens. So I mean, I completely hate it. I don't think it's conservation. I looked at many of these operations as either laundering illegal trade, or basically greed that is threatening the species.
So this is specifically referred to animals because it says breeding, the question. But and I don't have any experience with it, so I can't really say much about it. But and I hear what you say for charismatic species that are being poached or sought after. But then there are programs on fish, that species that no one knows in the world, and breeding programs and reintroducing. But there is always the risk of with what I mean, how many of these programs are regulated? What are the genetics? And then also what are the disease control? So there's a huge. So I've got no experience in this, but I would say there's a risk.
This should have a scientific approach to it, not an emotional approach. And oftentimes these breeding programs and release programs are very emotion driven. There are species that are truly on the brink with only a few individuals left. It could be working, but it should be driven by science and not by greed, by money, by own agendas from individual NGOs that can make the decisions for themselves, because that is kind of the case, without any collaboration with experts or the governments. And then again, a lot of corruption is involved. A lot of NGOs know how to manage the governments to get certain programs through in countries. So we're running out of time. So I think we're at our last question. Oh, this is going to be tough. In one word or sentence, what would you say motivates you every day to fight for a future for nature? Wait a second. there's a baboon walking by. Let's focus on that first. That gives us some time to think about this one word and
Pause.
I can only think about one thing at a time. So I can't think about a baboon in a sentence. But for me,
I think you should start.
Start. On or on, what would you motivate? For
me, it's easy.
Go for it.
It's just the magic of nature and the environment and everything around us. And the idea of we are not above it, but we are part of it. And we are a species also, but just the magic of that is what motivates me.
For me, it's connection. Like what motivated me is a specific story with a specific animal. Just experiencing the connection with an animal was really what motivates me. So I think that kind of connection to nature, what nature can give you, is what really, for me, is what motivates you.
Yeah. I would say passion and the possibility to make change. And it is possible.
Yeah.
Those are very small, tiny steps.
Yeah.
But it's feasible. It comes with perseverance and endurance, but it's possible. And I think that is a strong driver to continue.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being a host.
I guess. My pleasure.
on the Future for Nature podcast show.
Yeah, for this, they flew me over from Bolivia, so I've done my job. I go back birding now.
Future for broadcasting. Nice.
And compliments to the camera crew.
Definitely. Thank you very much for organizing. Oh, this is great because it's a great opportunity to have a very relaxed conversation instead of strict interview.
Get through the rest of